Okay.
Excellent.
All right. All right. This one's okay. Now I've lost all my people. All right, so please feel free to ask a question, interrupt me. But today, this is what we're going to be discussing in QuickBooks. My name is Jeff Weathers. I live in Shelby, North Carolina, and I've been working with QuickBooks for about 20 years, and I do QuickBooks training at 10 community colleges. So today we're doing it for the Cleveland Community College. And so this is part 1 of 2. So next Thursday at the same time at 2 o'clock, we'll be doing part 2 of 2. So, but a lot of people can only attend one of the classes, so I'm going to try to cover as much as I can. But next week, we'll go into more detail and you can ask more complex questions. So hopefully this will work out. But today, the first thing I wanted to talk about is the different editions of QuickBooks Online. Which one should you choose? And then we'll be going just the ways to maneuver around into QuickBooks and setting up your company file. So let's look at the online editions. So there's 4 different levels of QuickBooks. You can go with QuickBooks Simple Start, which most people use it, especially if you're a small business, you don't have multiple people that need to be getting in QuickBooks at the very same time. The Simple Start version works great. And there's also a link, and Danny will post that link in the chat, where you can get 30% off for the first 12 months. So instead of paying $38 a month for it, you would get it for $26.60. So that's the Simple Start version. If you have multiple people in your office and multiple people need to be on QuickBooks Online at the very same time, then you would have to move up to the Essentials version of QuickBooks, which is a little more expensive, but you can have 3 different people on QuickBooks at the very same time. Then we have the Plus version, which you can have 5 different users on at the same time. And you might need the Plus version. I know somebody said they worked in construction. And so you probably will need to move all the way up to the Plus version so that you can track projects and classes and locations and do some job cost analysis. And also, if you need inventory, a lot of people think they need inventory, but maybe if you think you need inventory, maybe want to give me a call and we can talk about it, because a lot of people think they need inventory, but they really don't, because that would make you need to move all the way up to the Plus version, which is getting kind of expensive. And then the one that's really expensive is called the Advanced version. And so only if your chart of accounts, and we'll be talking about that, your chart of accounts, if it gets like really large, you have to move all the way up to the advanced versions. Someone asked a question, will there be different tools based on the versions, like invoicing and paying contract labor? Doing those activities right there are in all the versions. So doing invoices and paying contract workers, that works fine in the Simple Start version. All right, so I think I'm going to jump right into the sample company and we'll play around with it. So I'm going to jump out of here and jump over into my QuickBooks. Let me refresh my QuickBooks. So this is that sample company that I was talking about. It's called Craig's Design and Landscaping. It's a sample company that you can't mess up. You can play around. You can do all kinds of stuff. When you close it, everything goes back to the way it looked before you even started working with it. So it's a sample company that we can play around with. One thing I would do want to check out before I get started to make sure my bank transactions are looking good, which they are, because sometimes in this sample company, it gets a little wonky sometimes. All right, so I'm going to start over here. This is called the left navigation bar. And this is where the plus create button is. And QuickBooks just recently changed the whole format, the whole look of this screen here, the way it looks. So hopefully everybody's screen looks like this now. If they don't, they'll just look a little bit differently. But under the plus create, this is where you can really do the work. This is where you can do the work for your customers. These are the types of transactions that you would use when you're dealing with a customer. These are the types of transactions that would you use when you're dealing with a vendor. A customer pays you and you pay a vendor. So trying to get that in your head, a customer pays you. So if a customer's paying me, that would mean that I probably need to create an invoice so they can pay me. So I would either do an invoice or I would do a sales receipt. An invoice means you're going to get paid later. You're sending them an invoice and you're waiting for them to pay you. A sales receipt, you got paid instantly. You just need to record, hey, I got paid for doing this kind of work. So when I click on create a invoice, let's hope this is a fluke. Just a second.
It's ICE, specifically the branch charged with arresting and deporting undocumented immigrants. And under that branch.
Okay, somebody, Tiffany, I believe your mic might be on.
Okay.
I'll mute that. And Monica, I'm going to go ahead and mute you, but feel free, anybody can unmute themselves and ask me a question at any time, or I will try to keep an eye on the chat also if you want to put it in there. So if I click on create an invoice, what's going on here? This pulls up a blank invoice. And so like if I was creating an invoice for somebody, I would put my customer's name in there. So we'll put Susie Smith is my customer. So when I type it in right there on an invoice, I've got to add new Susie Smith. She's never been entered in as a customer. So if I click add new, that basically sets her up, Susie Smith. Now, if I'm planning to email her this invoice, I would need to put her email in. If I'm planning to snail mail her invoice, I would need to come down to this billing address and put something in. But I'm going to say, well, I'm just going to probably just going to be emailing it to her. So I'm just going to type my email in there. Accounting.com, Jeff at QBX Accounting. Hit save. So now,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Are you able to put the email and the mailing address, or you just only use one?
On the mailing address, what?
No, when you're doing the invoice, are you able to use just the email address, or can you use both the email and
you can key both of them in. When I'm setting up Susie Smith, and the reason that it's showing the two names here is because when I was I'll show you that later. I don't want to move this. So Susie Smith is the customer, and I'm saying, hey, I'm creating an invoice on January the 8th, and it's due in 30 days. So it's due on February the 7th. Then I've got to come down and use this other area in QuickBooks called your products and services. So this is like what you did for Susie. So I'm just going to create a product or service that I would use in my accounting business. So I might do some bookkeeping. So if I just type in, just on the fly, when I'm filling out the invoice, I type in bookkeeping, and it knows that I've never set that up in my products and services in QuickBooks. So I'm just going to click add new. And now I am setting this up. It's a one-time thing. Once I set it up, I'll never have to set it up again. And so when I'm setting up these products and services, because anything that goes on an invoice has to be set up in your products and services. And so it wants to know this product or service that you're setting up, do you consider it an inventory product a non-inventory product, or a service. So in my situation, it would be a service. So I'm going to choose service. You would have to be all the way up into the plus version, the third level of QuickBooks, to say, I need to track inventory. If you sell a thing like a mattress or something and you're not tracking inventory, you would call it a non-inventory product as opposed to an inventory product. So this is products and this is services. So right now I'm setting up a service. And I can set up a category. And so I'm just going to create a category called accounting. You don't necessarily have to set up a category. It just helps you organize your products and services. Get this person. So I am setting up a category called accounting. Why is it doing that? Well, it threw me completely out of that. So let me do it a different way. So let me close this screen. So let me go right here. This is called the master gear up in the top right corner. And this is where all my products and services are listed. So I'm going to open my products and services, and I can see in this sample company that I have all these different products and services that I sell. These are things that go on invoices. So I'm going to do it the long way. I'm going to say, I need to set up a new product or service. So I'm going to click on new. I'm going to say it's a service. It is called bookkeeping. And I'm going to create a category called accounting. Add new. I'm setting up a new category called accounting. And this is the wording that's going to pop on my invoice. And I'm just going to say bookkeeping again. That's the wording that's going to pop up. And then I set my bookkeeping rate. So we'll say our bookkeeping rate is $75. And the last thing it wants to know about is what income account from the money I make on doing bookkeeping, where do I want my income to show up? And so when we're talking about this, we're talking about another major area in QuickBooks, which is called your chart of accounts. So that's really what drives QuickBooks. It's your chart of accounts and your products and services. So right now, I want to say if had done some bookkeeping work, I would want it to fall into an income account. And so right here, I only have, well, I really have more than that. I have a bunch of income accounts right here. So right here on the fly, I'm going to try to create a new income account. And I'm going to create an account called bookkeeping income. I knew that wasn't going to work. So for right now, I'm just going to drop it into services. I knew it was going to mess that up. All right. Then you have to say, well, the bookkeeping you did for somebody, is it taxable or is it non-taxable? So I'm going to say it's non-taxable because a service, if you charge somebody for doing a service, it's non-taxable. If you charge somebody for a mattress, like a thing, a product, then it would be taxable. You would have to collect sales tax. So I'm going to put non-taxable. So now my product is all set up. I'll never have to go to it again. So I'm going to hit save and close. So now here in this category that I created called accounting, we see that word bookkeeping there. Now every screen in QuickBooks, this is your master gear up here. Remember the master gear is where you can get to your products and services. It's also where I can get to my chart of accounts. And those are the two main things that really drive QuickBooks is your chart of accounts and your products and services. So that's the master gear, but let me come down here and show you the baby gear. I'm not sure why this is happening, but let's go right here. So there's the master gear, and this is called the baby gear. It's just down below, and about every screen has a baby gear. And so a baby gear just controls what you see here on the screen. So when I click on the baby gear, I can see bookkeeping is there. It knows it's the type of service, and it knows the price that I'm selling. Now there's other headers on here that I don't really need, like SKU. I don't need SKU. So here on my baby gear, I'm going to turn SKU off, but I am going to turn on the income account. Remember when I was setting that product up, I said the income's going to drop under services. I want to change that here in a minute, but I just wanted to show you that. So I don't really need these other items, so I can go to my baby gear and I can turn those off. So I'm going to hit show more. I'm going to turn off my cost. I want to leave my taxable on to see if I've flagged something as taxable or non-taxable. I don't need my quantity on hand, and I don't need my reorder point. So, and I want to see as many lines as possible. So it says right now you're set for 50 products and services, but I want to see as many as possible, 300, and maybe I want to make it a little more compact. All right, and I can also group it by category. So all the accounting is showing there. So now, since I went on my baby gear, and a lot of times in QuickBooks, you'll set your baby gear, you'll set the columns you want, but then you'll go into it again and they've all messed up again, and you have to do it again. It's very frustrating, but that's about all we can do. So it's kind of showing that bookkeeping is dropping into an income account. Now, I wanted to try to create an income account just to track the money I'm making off bookkeeping. So, but it wouldn't let me do it on the fly, so I've kind of got to do it the harder way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my master gear again, and not into products and services, but over to my chart of accounts. So when I go to my chart of accounts, there's about 16 different types of accounts on your chart of accounts. And you can see all the different account types: bank, accounts receivable, assets, fixed assets, accounts payable, credit cards, liabilities, equity. All of those show up on a financial report called the balance sheet. That's why the BAL is there. What you're more concerned about is the profit and loss report, which is going to show you all your income. Got one more person coming in. The P&L report shows you all your income minus two things: minus your cost of goods sold. So look here. So we've got a bunch of income accounts down through here. This is a sample company that's got way too much stuff in that can get you really confused. It's got too much stuff, but it's your income minus your cost of goods sold minus your expenses. So they both get minused out of your income to see how your business is doing. The difference between the two going outs, the cost of goods sold and the expenses, our cost of goods sold are direct costs to you making the money. So if I ran a mattress store, when I sold a mattress, I would want it to be hitting an income account. When I had to go buy those mattresses, when I had to write that check to my supplier, I would code it to a cost of goods sold account, because if I hadn't have bought those mattresses, I couldn't have made the income. So that's the difference of when do I choose? Do I choose a cost of goods sold account? And in this example here, we only have one cost of goods sold account, but you can have many cost of goods sold accounts, just like you have many expense accounts. So everything else that's not directly related to you making the money, you would call it an expense account. And so you can see here all these different expense accounts that are created. So getting back to my original issue, I want to create an income account just to track my bookkeeping income. So I've got to come all the way to the top and I'm going to say, I need to create a new account. Not sure why that's jumping around like that. I need to create a new account. I'm setting up something new on my chart of accounts. This is different from what I was setting up earlier on my products and services. So I want to create an account called bookkeeping income. What account type? That's this right here. What account type are you setting up? Remember, we've got 16 different types of accounts. So what account type am I trying to set up on my chart of accounts? So when I look at my drop down, I can see all these different types of accounts. And I want to set up an income account. And then I come over here to the right, it wants to know, well, what detail type do you want to choose? This is just totally a waste of time because there's no reason that I know that QuickBooks uses this area of detail type. So you have these choices, you cannot add anything to it. So you just choose the most appropriate. So the most appropriate, when I'm talking about me making money, I'm going to call it service fee income. Okay. Now I could make this a sub account of something in my chart of accounts. So I'm going to come back to that in a little bit. For right now, I'm just going to hit save. So I have set up something new on my chart of accounts. And when I come down here and I'm looking at my different income accounts, you can see bookkeeping income is set up like that. But I'm going to make bookkeeping a sub account of another account. Just like right here, job materials is a sub account of landscaping services. You can see it's a little indented, and then these are indented under job materials. So I'm going to go and create another account on my chart of accounts. You design your chart of accounts the way that you think is going to help you when you run that profit and loss report so you can see how your business is doing. So I'm going to create another account and I'm going to say accounting income. That's going to be the name of it. What account type am I wanting to set up right now? Again, it would be an income account. What detail type do I want to use? I'm going to use service fee income. Just choose whatever's most appropriate. So this is going to be my master account called accounting income. So I'm going to hit save. So now on my chart of accounts, I've got accounting income set up as an income account. I'm going to go here to where my bookkeeping is, and I'm going to make that a sub account under accounting. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to edit. I'm back to this original screen. I'm going to make this a sub account, and it wants to know, well, what's your parent account? If I do my drop down, accounting income. So when I hit save, I don't have to put a description. It's very descriptive already. No time, no need to waste to doing that. So I'm going to hit save. So now in my chart of accounts, you can see my bookkeeping income is a sub account under accounting income. So I do several different types of work in my business. I do bookkeeping, I do training, I do payroll. Those are the only 3 income accounts I really need in my chart of accounts. In this sample company, we've got all these other income accounts, but I don't need any of those. But I do need a payroll income and I do need a training income. So I'm going to go back up here to the top and say, I need to create a new account. And I'm going to call it training income. What account type would it be? I'm going to look here. I've got 16 different choices. It's an income account. What detail type? I'm going to see it's a service. and I'm gonna make this a sub account, and I know it, accounting income. And I'm gonna hit save, or if I know I've got to add another one, I can do save and new, and it'll pop up another blank screen. And so now I'm going to do another one called payroll income. It remembered, since I did save and new, it remembered income, service fee, make this a sub account of also accounting income. So I'm going to hit save and close now. So now when I'm looking at my chart of accounts, when I come down here to my income accounts, I can see the 3 buckets of income that I have. So you want to think about your business. What are your buckets? What bucket, what income accounts do you want to see? Because in just a minute, we're going to look at a P&L report and see this information. So let me go back and let me check that one thing. Let me go back into my products and services and see if I did change that one. Bookkeeping, no, I didn't. Haven't changed my income yet. So when I do put bookkeeping on an invoice, it's asking me, well, where do you want to show up on your chart of accounts? And while ago, I didn't have bookkeeping as an option out here, so I had to choose services. But now I can find bookkeeping. So let me find it. Yep, so there it is. There's all my accounts. So when I do bookkeeping for somebody, I want it to hit right there. It's non-taxable. Be sure and always fill that in. Is your service that you're setting up, is it taxable or non-taxable? So I'm going to hit save and close, but I want to create another one. So let me say save and new. I'm creating another service, and we'll say payroll. That's another service that I offer. What category do I want to stick it under? I want to put it under that accounting category. And so I'm going to, this is the wording that pops on your invoice, payroll services for the month. Okay. So my payroll services will say it's $150 a month. It wants to know, where do you want it to show up on your P&L report? Where do you want it to show up? So I'm going to look here and I'm going to find that income account called payroll income. All right. Is it taxable or non-taxable? So I want to edit this and say it is non-taxable and say done. So I'm all set up. I'll never have to set it up again. I'm going to hit save and close. So there's my 2 items that I have set up. Again, I would do one more. Let me just go ahead and do that one real quick. I want to set up another service called training. In the category, I want to stick that in the same category as the other ones. And this is the wording that pops on my invoice. So maybe I want to say QBO training. Okay. So we will put that at $150 also. Is everybody getting the hang of it? So you choose what income account, when you do some training, what income account do you want it to hit? So I'm looking here at my chart of accounts and I'll say I want it to drop there. And I always need to say it's non-taxable. And so hit done. Save and close. So now I've got the 3 products and services that I plan to use in my invoicing of customers. These are my only 3 services that I offer. And I can tell from this master list because I went to the baby gear and I turned on the columns to show the type, the wording that pops on the invoice, what income account it's going to hit, and what is the sales price that I had chose for that. and is it taxable or not? And so these don't have check marks, so that means they're non-taxable. All right.
Hey,
So
Jeff, we've got a couple questions.
okay.
And Monica had her hand up before. I'm not sure if she's still got a question.
Okay, Monica, do you want to go ahead and ask your question? Danny, can you read the questions off to me so I don't have to go looking for them?
Sure. Let's see. The first question, I'm not sure what section we were in. Are the accounts in this section linked to actual bank accounts, or are they just categories?
These are categories. These are not and QBO is hooked up to your bank account. So we will get to that in just a minute. Another question?
Next question, you can set up as many liner items as you need under products and services, correct?
Yes, many as you need. Yes.
Okay. And something like ice would be under bartending services as an example.
Ice. So no. Ice would mean like you're buying ice to put in drinks and stuff. I assume that's what you're talking about. And so that is not on your products and services because your products and services are only you making money. So you know if you have a bar and you're making money, you've probably got a cash register, and at the end of the day, out of your Z tape, out of your cash register, it tells you like your gross sales and all the money that you have made. You would use a sales receipt to show how that should be recorded here in QuickBooks. So let's just go. Have you got any more, Danny?
I've got two other ones.
Okay.
Excuse me. Payroll income would be your pay, your hourly rate, for an example.
Payroll income. I don't think so. I don't know what that's saying. Can you say that again?
It says payroll income would be your pay, your hourly rate, for an example. Dave, do you want to clarify
No.
that question?
No, what that means, payroll is an expense. It's not income. It's an expense. So you had to pay somebody. So it's in a different area. Right now, we're talking about just making money. I'm making money. You're wanting to try to get into expenses. So let's go and we'll go and look at the chart of accounts. So let me go over here. So this is where I can go and create an invoice. So let me finish this up. So I'm going to create an invoice. I'm going to say my customer's name is Susie. Let's see, it got recorded a while ago when I did it. Susie Smith is set up as a customer. So I've done some work from Susie Smith. And so I'm going to say, well, I did some bookkeeping. Okay. And so it popped on the rate that I said, my bookkeeping is $75 an hour. And let's say that I did 3 hours of bookkeeping. So when I type in 3 and then tab, it's going to do the math for me. So she owes me 3 hours for bookkeeping. But let's say that I also did some training for her. So when I do my drop down on my products and services, you can see they pop up right here, bookkeeping, payroll, and training. So I did some training. So it's all under the category of accounting. It's called training. This is the wording that I keyed in. I said, I want that to pop on my invoice. And so let's say I did an hour of training, okay? And then let's say I also did her payroll. So this is only making money. This is not paying for anything. I'm billing a customer for doing some work for her. So I'm going to choose payroll, or I can just start typing it, payroll. And that wording popped in, payroll services for the month, which is $150. So the grand total of this invoice is $525. So she owes me $525. Now, if I want her to pay me real quick, I need to change the terms of this invoice. It's not net 30. I'm going to say it's due on receipt. As soon as I send you the invoice, I want you to pay it. So she owes $525. And there's no sales tax. There's no sales tax getting down here. So I'm going to hit save and close. So we've got Susie Smith out there. So I wanted to show you how we can use bookmarks. There's ways that you use QuickBooks where you come down into here and use things. Anything I want to do with customers, I would come down to accounting and expenses. I would come down to use vendors. I don't even like to use these things. I don't want to come down here. I want to put everything that I need to run QuickBooks right here in my bookmarks. So I'm going to go here in my bookmarks and I'm going to set up some bookmarks. And if you've got a camera, you might want to take a picture of what we set up in our bookmarks. So I want to set up my chart of accounts because I'm going to my chart of accounts a lot. So I'm just going to go down this list and see the things that I want to turn on here in my bookmarks. I want to turn my bank transactions on because you hook your QuickBooks up to your bank and your transactions come feeding into QuickBooks. So I'm going to turn on my bank transactions. I'm going to turn on my standard reports. I'm going down the list here. I'm going to turn my chart of accounts on because I'm going to that a lot. I'm going to turn my vendors on. These are the people that I pay. And I'm going to come down here and turn on my customers. My customers. All right, I believe that's it. So if I roll back up to the top, I can see everything that I turned on. And so now I'm going to set up my chart of accounts. I always do it in a certain order. So I want to put my chart of accounts at the top. You just grab those 6 little diamonds, pull that to the top. Then I'm going to have my bank transactions. Then I want my customers. And then I want my vendors. Customers pay you, you pay vendors, and then there's my reports. So I'm going to hit save. So now instead of having to come down here and then try to find my my customers down here, I don't even see it down here. I could just go here to my bookmarks, and there's my bookmarks. And so real quick, I can get to my customers. When I click on bookmarks and I click on customers, it's going to show me all the customers that I deal with. And this is a sample company, but you'll see that one customer that we kind of did was Susie Smith. Okay. So just like everything else, they have a baby gear on every screen. There's a baby gear, and a baby gear just controls what columns you see. So if I go to the baby gear on my customers, maybe I want to see the address. There's the address. Maybe I need to see the email. Okay, I could set them up as different types of customers. I want to see as many lines as possible. So I'm going to set it for 300. So once I've set that, hopefully it'll stay. So I just click off of it. And so there's my customers. Same way, if I would go to my bookmarks and I would come over here to vendors, these will be all the people that I pay. The very same thing. I can go over here to my baby gear, and maybe I want my address turned on so I can see it real good. This looks good. I'm going to say I want to see as many lines as possible. 300. So by using your bookmarks, this is a way to get to certain areas really quick. So there's your customers. And then the other one was going to show us our vendors. Now, another good thing that you can do on your bookmarks is that when I go to customers, if I click on it, this screen right here changes to my customers. But if I right click and open link and new tab, it puts another tab over here where this will now be all my customers. Let's see, it shouldn't have done that. So let's see if we can. This sample company acts a little funny sometimes. see if I can get back. Okay, let's try it one more time. So let's go down to our bookmarks. We right click, we can open link in new tab. Okay, so this should be my customers. I don't know, it must not be working in the sample company, but in a real company, in your real company, in this sample company, it's just not working. But you could go and open up your customers, and then you could right click and open up your vendors, and then you could right click and open up your bank transactions. So you can have different tabs, and you should be able to drop from one tab to the other tabs. Like I say, it's not working in this sample company they give us to train people how to use. So every time I change something, if I go to vendors, it's going to change it to vendors. And it's very frustrating that it doesn't work like that. But anyway, all right, so let's move on. So we've got our bookmarks set up. And so I want to show you what the reports look like. So I'm going to go and run a standard report. I can use this reports, or I can use the standard reports in my bookmarks. And I want to show you what a profit and loss report looks like. So right here in my favorites, these are our two financial reports. It's our profit and loss report and our balance sheet report. Remember when we were looking at our chart of accounts, we had some balance sheet accounts and we had some P&L accounts. So I'm going to run a profit and loss report. And so right now it's defaulting to this year to date. So really it's showing me only what we did here in our sample that we just did for Susie. It's showing me how much money I made in bookkeeping, how much I made in payroll, and how much I made in training. And there's no expenses yet. Now, if I switch this from this year to date and I say last year, it's going to show me all these sample work that is built into this QuickBooks Online sample company. So when I'm looking here, it's showing me from January through December of 2025, these little buckets of income that I had created, all these different names like this that was in the sample company. So your total income is 10,200. Your direct cost was 405. So it took the 405 from the 10,200 and it says, well, you're left with 97.95. The reason this cost of goods sold is beneficial is like if you had a mattress store, your mattress in sales income would be up here and your cost of all those mattresses would be right here under cost of goods sold. So you would know how much money is left just even after you bought all your stuff, because then you've got to take out all your expenses. And so the way you design your chart of accounts is the way these expenses show up. So it's saying after you take out all your expenses of 52.37, you're left with a profit of 45.58. And then down at the very bottom is two strange accounts called other income and other expense. Now, the great thing about it is if I go back over here to my standard reports, I go back to my standard reports, I'm going to come down here and it's not in my favorites yet, but down here in my business overview, I love this report, profit and loss by month. So I'm going to flag it and put it in my favorites by making that a green symbol that put it up here. That's why your balance sheet is up here. Your profit and loss is up here. Your accounts receivable is up here. It's up here in my favorites. So now I'm going to run a profit and loss by month. So in January, everything we've done's happened dated in January. But if I look at last year, I could see in this sample company, I'm seeing some activity for July, August, September, October, and November, and a little bit in activity in December. So there was no activity January through June. I think there's no activity in June. Okay. So I'm going to go and change my dates and say, well, I just want to see from 07, 01, 25. I don't have to put the slashes. I just put 07, 01, 25. If you're in the current year, you don't even have to put the 25. You could just put 07, 01 through 12/31. But since I want to see last year, I've got to put in the date. And so now I'm looking in July, and we can see in July, these are all my little buckets of income. I made $391. I had no direct cost. And also of the 391, the only expense I had was paying a lawyer. So I made a profit of 91.25 in the month of July. In the month of August, I took in $365. I had no direct cost and I had no expenses. So I made a profit of $365. And then September, my income was $1018, no direct cost. Then I look at all my expenses, which was $605. So you made a profit of $412. All right, so I'm gonna jump on over here to November. November, all my little buckets of income totaled up to $66.41. I had some direct costs. I had some costs that were directly related to me making the income. So I wanted to call it a cost of goods sold expense as opposed to a regular expense. So if I take the 405 from the 66.41, I'm left with 62.36. Then I got to take out all my expenses of 27.55. So you made a profit. So this is looking, you made a profit, 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 profit. You had a loss in December because I had no income. Everybody understand the profit and loss report? So you're designing your chart of accounts. So let's go back over here to our bookmarks and let's go to our chart of accounts. And so we've kind of talked a little bit. We're not going to talk a lot about the balance sheet accounts today. We'll talk more about that next week. But then we look at our income accounts. We've kind of already talked about them. We've talked about our cost of goods sold accounts. Remember, I could have multiple cost of goods sold accounts. It's anything that you think is directly related to you making the money so that you could see the income and then the costs that were directly related to you making the money to see, where you stand. And then you have your expenses. So you want to set up your chart of accounts the way that you want it to show up on your P&L report. So like under automobile expenses, they've got fuel, but I might want to put repairs and maintenance under there. So that means I would come up here to the top and I would say, well, I need to add a new account to my chart of accounts, and we'll call it repairs and maintenance.
I have a question, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
So going back to the profit and loss stuff. So I have a business, but it's based on construction and remodeling. So I work at different job sites, and I would like to see the profit and losses for each job site. Can I do one for each job site? And how would that look for the entire year?
What you need to use is you need to use the plus version of QuickBooks, the third level, not Simple Start, not Essentials, but the plus version so that you can have projects. And when you use projects, it keeps track of the money that you made for the project and the expenses for the project. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So have you already purchased QuickBooks?
Yes. How can I see which one I purchased though?
In the master gear, if you go to the master gear and you go to subscriptions and billing,
Okay, give me one.
I know in this sample company, it's probably not gonna let me see that, but that should show you,
I have the QuickBooks Plus.
you have the plus version, so that means you have projects.
Okay.
So that's getting a little more advanced. So, maybe you might have to do some one-on-one to show you how projects work, or you can Google it online and find someone that's teaching about projects, but that's what you want to use in a construction business.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
So let's look at the expense accounts. So here's fuel under automobile. I want some more sub accounts under there. So I'm going to come up here to the top and I'm going to say, I need to create a new account and I'm going to call it repairs and maintenance. What account type are you wanting to set up? So here's my account types. So what account type would it be? I'd be coming down through here. It would be called an expense, not a cost of goods sold, but an expense. The detail type, I just find the most appropriate. The most appropriate for auto repairs and maintenance would be auto. And I'm going to make this a sub account. And I can see my drop down of automobile and hit save. So now on my chart of accounts, so if I ever go get my car worked on, when I write that check to my repairman, I will have where I can drop it into this repairs and maintenance. So that means like if I had went to auto repair shop, like if I had came, I would use my plus create, and I'm getting ready to pay somebody. So that means I'm working with a vendor. I'm going to pay them. A check's a check and everything else is called an expense. Let's say I'm writing a check to my auto repair place. So when I click on check, so I'm going to say Sam's Auto. So I've never keyed it into QuickBooks before. So one of the main things I've got to do is I've got to add new Sam's Auto. So when I click that, it's setting that up as a vendor. Now, QuickBooks has started this thing where, when we were seeing that name, that customer's name twice, it was because it's there under company name and it was also there under the customer name. I don't want it to show up twice, so I'm just going to wipe that out. And let me see, Sam's Auto. So now it will just show one time. So Sam's Auto, don't pay attention the way it does that. If I'm paying him, I don't really need any kind of information. I don't need, well, if I'm mailing him a check, I will need his address to get on here. So I'm not going to waste the time on doing that, but I'm just going to hit save. So that is a vendor that is out there called Sam's Auto. And so let's say that I wrote him and it was check number 71. When I assign it to a category, that means a category on my chart of accounts. So if I know what it is, if I start typing repairs, I can see a bunch of repairs that pops up. So I'm paying attention to what the name is and then also what kind of category it is. So I am looking for one that is a sub account of auto expense. All right, here it is, sub account of automobile. I wish they showed you, it was a bigger box and you could see the whole thing, but that's what I want to choose right there. Automobile, repairs and maintenance. And so I might say repaired Chevy 250 or something like that. And I had to pay $300. Okay. So I have wrote the check out here. Then I could print the check if I've got pre-printed checks that I can print on. I could print that check. If I haven't bought computer checks to work with it, I can still handwrite it. But if I handwrite it, I'm going to eventually have to come in QuickBooks and record it manually. So by getting the computer checks, it just saves you from doing it just one time. You recorded it, you can print this check and it's going to be recorded, and it's going to be recorded into a bank account called my checking, which is a bank account. So I'm going to hit save and close. So now it's right there in my repairs and maintenance. So if I would run a P&L report, so if I would go over here and I would go back into my standard reports and run a P&L by month, it's going to show, because that's going to be dated. Yep. So there it is. I was just wondering, why is my income not showing up? Huh. Okay, there it is. So here's my income and here's my expenses. So I took in the month of January, I've billed $525 and I've spent $300. So I'm good for $225. All right, so let's go back over to my chart of accounts. So this is why the bookmarks is very important. Like maybe if you have your picture, you can take a picture. That's what I would set up in my chart, my bookmarks of QuickBooks, so I can get to anything like really quick. And all of our companies, we set them all up just like that. We put chart of accounts at the top and then bank transactions, customers, then vendors. So I am going to go back into my chart of accounts again. And so I want to design this chart of accounts the way I need it. So if I don't need disposal fees, I can either merge that with something else, or I can just make it inactive. I can't delete it. It'll either make it inactive or I can merge it with something else. So if I make it inactive, yes, make inactive, then it's not one of the options that I see when I go to plus create and I say I want to write a check and I'm looking at my chart of accounts, disposal fees, I don't see it anymore. Now, another thing is sometimes you don't want your chart of accounts to get too out of control, so that you might want to merge accounts. So you don't even want that disposal fees around. So one thing I did notice here when I was coming down the list here, it's showing me lines 1 through 75. So that means I get to go back up here to the top on my baby year. I want to see more than 75 lines per page. I want to see as many as possible, 300. I can also include inactive if I would want to see that disposal fee. So now, since I've turned my inactive back on, when I'm looking here at my disposal fees, it should be back. Right there it is. It tells me it's deleted, but I said, hey, I want to see even the inactive ones. So normally you would not want to see the inactive ones, so you would have that turned off. Again, that's the baby gear where you can turn columns on and off and set how many lines per page you're seeing. So I want to show you how to merge something. If you saw something like right here, they've got in this sample company, they've got a travel and then they got a travel meals. I don't think there's a reason that you need those separate. So remember, when we're setting up the name of the account, the type of the account, and the detail type. This is the detail type. I'm sorry, QuickBooks is acting a little funny here in this sample company, but we'll try to make it through. So when I come down here to merge accounts, I've got to have these the same detail type. So I'm wanting to merge travel meals with travel. So that means the first thing I need to do is I need to go change this detail type from travel meals just to travel. So let me edit it. Edit it. I'm going to change my detail type from travel meals to travel. And I'm going to hit save. So now, now that I'm wanting to clean up my chart of accounts, since this is the same, I can find the one that I like, and I just go to the one I don't like. So I'm going to edit it, and I just put in the correct name. I like travel. Well, travel. So now when I hit save, you already have an account with this name. Would you like to merge the two? And I'm going to say yes. So any transactions that were possibly put under travel meals is now moving over into travel. You don't have to worry about losing any transactions or anything. So you want to design your chart of accounts the way that's going to help you. And so a lot of people, especially if they're new to QuickBooks Online, they might hire our services to set up their chart of accounts and to give them a little bit of training to get them going, that is designed just for their business. I ask you questions about your business. I figure out what buckets of income you want. I'll figure out what expense accounts that you need, what cost of goods sold accounts you need. So if you want to research that, you can just let us know. Also, I wanted to mention, if anybody if you were late coming in and you would like a handout of some information that we have on the chart of accounts, if you'll put your email in the chat here, Danny will email you some notes on all the stuff that we've been talking about. So does anybody have any questions about the chart of accounts so far? Danny, did you notice any questions I didn't answer?
There is one. If someone downgrades their subscription, will all of their current accounts be transferred over?
Yes, you can downgrade or upgrade at any time and nothing will be lost. You can go from, if you're in the Plus version and you want to go down to the Simple Start version, you just go to that master gear under subscriptions and billing, and you will be able to downgrade. And it will prorate your rate and everything. Most small businesses use a Simple Start. Construction or inventory, you're probably going to need to move all the way up to the Plus version. And remember, if you haven't bought QuickBooks, there's a link that we have that can give you 30% off for the first 12 months. So that's better than anything you can find. Even if it says 90% off for 3 months, it would be better to get 12 months off than to get the 90% off for 3 months. This is 12 months off for a full year. So you really design your chart of accounts, and you can tell here that all this stuff shows up on the P&L reports. So you're on your P&L report, there's basically 5 different types of accounts that show up on your P&L report. It's your income minus your cost of goods sold, direct cost to you making the money, minus expenses. And then down at the bottom is other income and other expense. Those are for strange things, like if you had sold a piece of equipment that you owned, you would want to call that other income because it's not necessarily operating income, but you would want it on your P&L, so it would be on other income. Maybe if your bank gives you a penny or two of interest, you would also want to call that interest earned as an other income account. It's still coming into your business, but it's just not part of operating the business. So does anybody want to ask any questions about the chart of accounts before we jump off this? All right.
Jeff, we've got one quick question. Can customers still pay online?
Yes, customers can pay online if you use Intuit Payments. So that means you have to sign up for Intuit Payments. I can get you the best rate that you can get on using Intuit Payments, and I'll be glad to set that up for you for free. So if you want, all I have to do is you just have to give me your email and your company ID. And your company ID is, if you would do Control hold down the Control, Alt, and question mark at the same time, all three. Control, Alt, question. It will show you your account ID, your number that is associated with your products. And I write my Intuit rep and say, Susie is interested in getting in Intuit payments set up. And so then they will contact you and get that set up. And right now, it's 1% of the invoice. If you want to use Intuit payments, it's 1% of the invoice. Sometimes I can get a discount where it maxes out at $20 a pop. So if you send an invoice for $600, the fee of 1% would be only $6. But if you send an invoice for $10,000, the 1% of that would be like $100. So you don't want to pay $100. So I can probably try to get you locked in to where it maxes out at $20 fee for getting paid through the Intuit network. Intuit network is great because if they pay through a link, you send them an invoice and it'll have a link on there, say you can pay your invoice by clicking this link. If they pay through that invoice link, it will come into QuickBooks, it will close the invoice and record the deposit automatically. It does a lot automatically if you use Intuit payments. I love it. It does cost a little bit of money, but it saves a lot of time. Any more questions, Danny?
That's it right this moment.
Okie doke. Great deal. All right. And so the other financial report is called the balance sheet. And I'm not going to go too much into the balance sheet today, but I do want to show you that the bank accounts, these bank accounts, by this little symbol here, that means that I have linked my checking account up with my bank account. I mean, up with my QBO. I have linked my checking account up with QBO. So QBO transactions feed in to my checking account, to my savings account, and also to my credit card once you hook it up. And so that's where we're going to go back to bookmarks and we're going to go to bank transactions. So when I go to bank transactions, I can see, yes, I've hooked up my checking account, my savings account, and my credit card. If I needed to link another account, I would hit link account and I would hook that up. And that would be setting up something new on your chart of accounts, probably another credit card or another bank account. And so what happens is every day, every morning, you hit update. And what it does is it goes out to your bank and it pulls in any bank activity into a holding area. This is a holding area. This is not affecting any financial reports at all. It's just a holding area that you've got to move it from this holding area on over to home base, which is the bank register. Once it gets to the bank register, it's affecting your profit and loss and your balance sheet reports. But for right now, these transactions have just fed in and they're waiting to come in. And I can tell there's 25 transactions waiting to come into my checking account. There's only one transaction waiting to come into my savings account. And there's 7 transactions waiting to come into my MasterCard account. So that means if I would go over here to my MasterCard, I've got that tile highlighted. It shows me the 7 things that are waiting. If I go to home base, which is my register, if I click on that, I can see things that have already made it all the way to home base. I see a lot of things that are recorded out here, and there's a lot of different things, some expenses, some bill payments, some credit card expenses, some credit card credits. All of these things have been recorded in home base. So that means that at some point you went to the Plus Create and you recorded these things. You know, I might have recorded an expense and I'd record it coming out of my credit card. Now, really, I would probably never record an expense. I wouldn't take the time to say, hey, I went over to Wendy's and got my meal tonight. I would wait for that to bank feed into QuickBooks, because the big thing about on your bank feeds, let me go back to my bank feeds, bank transactions. Let me jump back over here to the checking account. If something, you can start teaching it rules. So if I go to a rental right here, is some rules. Again, first thing I probably want to do is I want to go to my baby gear and look and see what columns are turned off. So I'm going to say, hey, I would like to see my check numbers. I would like to turn on grouping. That really gives you a lot, where it'll group it by the different months. I'm not using tags in my QuickBooks Online. That's a feature that they did have it in QuickBooks Online, then they took it away, then they brought it back. But I don't think you really need, I'm not a big fan of tags. I want to show the bank details, and I want to copy the bank detail to memo. I don't even like enable suggested categorization. And I want to see as many lines per page as possible. So you want to kind of want to get your columns turned on. So if anybody maybe wants to take a picture, this is what I would say that you would want to turn on your baby gear on your bank transaction screen. Okay. Now, when I turned on the grouping, what it does is if I've got it sorted by date, it's grouping it by October and November and December. And you notice when I click date, it just flips it. Here's January, December, November. So that's if you've got it sorted by date. You could sort it by bank detail, and it's going to group it differently. So here's all my A1 rentals together, all my books by Bessie together. These are vendors that you pay, Chin's Gas, Dillon. So it's grouping it different ways. I can click on payee and it's grouping it a different way also. Books by Bessie, Bonham. I can, under my spent column, if I click on that, I can see where it lists it from the lowest down to the highest. If I click it again, it'll go from the highest down to the lowest. So these little tricks, just same way with the receive column, from the highest down to, no, it's on the receive column. So it's from the lowest to the highest. If I click it again, it's going to be from the highest to the lowest. So it's a quick way for you to find things. Now, when it tells me on the bank feeds, and I'm going to put it back over here in bank detail. When it says this Books by Bessie, one match found, check number 12 for $55 going out. If it says one match found, that means it's already recorded in home base. It's already in the register. So I just want to go and make sure that that's there. Check number 12 on 10/4/25. So I'm going to go to home base, my bank register. I'm going to find 10/4/25. Okay, there it is, Books by Bessie. If I open that up, you can see where I had taken the time, I had went to that plus create, and I wrote this check. I wrote this check paying my vendor called Books by Bessie. She is a vendor. I wrote it out of which bank account? The checking bank account. And I assigned it to a category called legal and professional fees, bookkeeper. So if I do my drop down, I can see bookkeeper is a sub account under legal and professional fees on my chart of accounts. So that's where I had taken the time and recorded it. And I'm a big fan of recording the checks before they really come through the bank feed. You can record them after they come through the bank feed, but you're going to eventually have to fill in all the blanks and tell it all the correct category and all that stuff. So I'm on checks, I say record them as soon as you are ready to write them. So now, so it's recorded on 4/10/4. It's recorded, but you'll notice right here is blank. I'm needing to see C's and green symbols in this whole column here in my home base. So if I go back over to my bank transactions again, and it says one match found, it says it looked over there in the register and it says, I see it recorded. When I hit match, this number is going to go down to 24. When I hit match, that goes down to 24 more left to categorize. And now if I go back over to my home base, I'm going to see the C and the green symbol. Let me refresh. Sometimes it takes it a second to catch up. I should see the C and the green symbol, and I don't. 10-4. At 50, I should see a C and a green symbol. This sample company that we have to work with does not work too good. It should cause a C and a green symbol. All right. It should have caused the C and the green symbol. Let's go back and do another one, see if we can get that to push through. So I'm going to go back to bank transactions. So that one should have gone, but there it is still. So I'm going to hit match. Tell them, Danny, I'm not crazy. It's supposed to work.
He's
So
not crazy. It's oddly glitchy.
when I hit match, it's okay. It's just not doing it. It's not going. My number went down to 24, so it acts like it did it, but now it's back up to 25. Let me find another check down here that I want to send over. Here, one match, check number 2 for 1808 on 1108. Before I hit match, I want to go look at it. Make sure it's in the register because it says there's a match found. So that means it is in the register. Check number 2 on 1108. So let me go over to home base. 1108. 1808. There's the check that I recorded. I manually went to my plus create. I wrote the check out of my checking account and I signed it to an expense called office expenses for 1808. So it's there. All right, let me go back over to my bank transactions. So every day you're going to your bank transactions and you see what has happened overnight. So let me go down here to the 1808, which was, what date was that, Danny? Remember? 1108? Yep, right here. It says there's a match. So I'm going to hit match. Makes it go down to 24. So let me go over here to my home base and see if I've got a C and a green symbol. Do not. Let's refresh QBO. This new format that QuickBooks has came out with, they just haven't worked out all the kinks. It's terrible that we are the guinea pigs to do it. So it was 1108, that 1808, it should show a C and a green symbol. Let me go back to my bank transactions. So everything that says a match, like here's an expense for 10809. Let me see if I can just throw some of these through. Let me say, if it says a match, it's good. So match that one, hit that one. I hit accept. I went down to 23. I go over to my register. There it comes. All right, finally. A C and a green symbol. A C means that it cleared the bank feeds. That's what we want to see. It works in a real company, it works fine. In this sample company, it's not working so good. So since all this work has been done, they had went to the plus create and they had recorded the expenses or they had recorded the checks, they're already in here. Even on recording your deposits might be in here. So your deposits are going to be on this side. So let's see if we see a deposit that would be a good one to open up. So here's a deposit. So when I open this deposit up, I can see where I had grabbed two checks, $108 and a $300 together. So I'm going to show a little example of that. So let's go. Remember, we created a customer, and we created a customer called Susie. Okay. So we'll come down here to my customers. Where is Susie? I had created the invoice for Susie. So now Susie is paying me. There's a couple different ways I can hit receive payment. I can open the invoice up and see it and hit receive payment. But the most likely way you're going to do it is go to your plus create. I'm dealing with a customer, so that means it's going to be under my customers tab, create, receive payment. I'm going to type in her name, Susie, choose her. It shows me the open invoice for her. So I'm going to say, well, on the 14th, she paid me. It was a check, and it's check number 3578. This is a very important part. If you're using QuickBooks already, and if you're confused, this is a very important part. Deposit to. Do I want to run it through undeposited funds? Or do I want to deposit it straight into my check register? That will be determined by how you plan to take it to the bank. Are you going to take a picture of it, a mobile deposit? Then you could drop it straight into your checking account. You say, hey, I got paid $567. When I typed in 567, it hooked it to this invoice. Let's say she didn't pay the full amount. Let's say she only gave me $300 for some reason. $300 is getting applied to a $567 invoice. So when we're done, it's going to show that she still owes $267. But do I deposit it straight into my checking account if I'm planning to run to the bank with that one check? Or am I planning to put that with more checks and make one big fat deposit? So if I'm doing that, I do not want to record it straight into my checking account. First thing I want to do is send it to this area called undeposited funds. Some QuickBooks call it payments to deposit, but it's an asset account. It'll either be called undeposited funds or payments to deposit. I want to send it to undeposited funds. So I'm going to hit save and close. So now when I'm looking at Susie, I can see there was the invoice and we made a $300 payment. There's another feature that's not turned on here. So I'm going to go to my baby gear and I'm going to turn on my balance column. I like that turned on. So I can see, yes, there was an invoice out there for 567, but right now she's down to only owing 267 because she made a $300 payment. Okay. So I just click off my baby gear. So I like that balance column on. A lot of times it will disappear. You just have to go back to your baby gear and turn that back on. So I have sent it to an area in QuickBooks called undeposited funds. So the day that I'm ready to go to the bank, I'm going to go to plus create and I'm going to come over here under other and say, I'm ready to go do a bank deposit. So when I do a bank deposit, it sees everything sitting in this area called undeposited funds. All these checks are laying right here on my desk and I'm getting ready to go to the bank. So I've got to grab Susie's check and I'll grab this Cool Cars check. No, I'll just grab this Freeman Sporting Goods. So it'll total up to 687. That total right there, 2362, would be if I grabbed all three of them. If I grabbed all three of them, it's 2362. But let's say that Cool Cars said, hold my check. So that means I'm leaving it on my desk. I'm not taking it to the bank yet. It's still sitting in undeposited funds. But I am going to go to the bank with Freeman's and Susie's. So I'm making a deposit of 687. You've got to record it correctly in your bank account so that when the deposit shows up in your bank feeds, it'll say, I see a match. So that's why we've got to record it together. That's why I couldn't drop Susie's into checking and then later on drop Freeman into checking, because in your bank feeds, you would never see them come in separately, a 300 and then a 387. I'm going to see when it comes through my bank feeds, it's going to be 687. So I'm going to hit save and close. And that puts it in home base. That puts it in the register. So I want to go and look at the register. So I'm going to go over here to my chart of accounts, because everything's on your chart of accounts. And I want to view that register. And you'll see where I deposited that $687. And that split means there's more than one thing inside of that. So when I open that up, I can actually see that whole deposit screen that I was just on, 687. So if you've made any mistakes and you have things sitting in your register that are never getting C's and green symbols because the deposit is never going to come through right, you could just open up the receive payment screen for the customer and say, don't drop it straight into the check register, drop it into undeposited funds and let me bill the deposit. Laura said, I may need you to clarify this question a little further when I get Jeff to answer it in a minute. Okay, that's Danny.
Oh, yeah, Jeff, Laura's got a quick question.
Okay,
He
go
wants
ahead,
to know
Laura.
if there's a way for, on the P&L, if there's a way to exclude a whole bank account. She said they have an account, they cannot legally be linked to their agency, meaning they can't commingle those funds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could, like on a P&L, you can filter it on when you run the P&L, filter it, and you could say, I just want to see this bank account. I think that would work for you, but I don't know. It's kind of strange to not see all the accounts, but you can filter it and then choose the bank account. I believe that'll work. I'd have to try it to make sure, but I'm pretty sure that should work. Don't you think so, Danny? Danny is my right-hand
you're right.
person here. She does this day in, day out more than I do. So, all right. So have we got any more questions we need to answer?
No more questions at this moment.
Okay. All right. So just remember, you've got to get it to end up in your register so that when you go to your bank feeds every day, when you go back over to bank transactions. So right now it sees this Cool Cars. There's a payment here. And if I open this up and I see this payment for Cool Cars, so this is where they paid. I clicked on to under the plus create. I went to my customers and I hit receive payment. They chose Cool Cars. And this is an example of where they've decided, yes, I'm going to run to the bank with just that one check, or either I'm mobile depositing that one check, $694. So you can see, and that's still going to have a balance because they didn't pay it. No, it's already been paid. Some's already been paid because the open balance was only $694, and now they're paying that in full. So there is that. So let me see if I can match that. So let me go back to my bank transactions. Because if it says a match and it's dated 11/7, when I hit match, I'm gonna go over here to my register, which is home base. Oh, was that the one I was just doing? I'm getting confused here. Let's go back to bank transactions. No, it wouldn't be that. 337. I don't want to use a sales receipt. Here's a good one. 218.75 on 11/12. I'm going to hit match. My number goes down on 11/12. I think this right here, I didn't get the C in the green symbol. I'm going to refresh. Still didn't get it.
I feel like normally we don't have to refresh nearly this many times.
No, we don't. We don't. So the goal is, and so let me show you another thing about the bank feeds. Now these matches, it matches means it's already recorded in the register. All I got to do is match them. But this is where, like A1 rental, you can see here, it doesn't show anything except uncategorized expense. So I want to tell you, we can start teaching it rules. So like every time I go to Lowe's, put it in repairs and maintenance. So every time I go to A1 rental, we're going to put it under equipment rental. And so in this example here, you can see where we paid them $800 and $1,200. But then we returned the equipment and they gave us money back. So I'm going to teach it a rule how to use A1 rental. So I open it up and I can see the bank detail right here. So I want to copy that bank detail, Control C, and I'm going to create a rule. Create a rule. I'm going to paste the name of the rule, is what I just copied. So that's the name of the rule, called A1 rental. If you see money going out, and we're not going to limit it to just my checking account, I'm going to say out of any of my accounts, my checking, my savings, or my MasterCard. If you see money going out of any of those accounts, and I'm going to switch it from artificial intelligence to bank text because I could see the bank text. If the bank text contains, it would never see a rental because that wasn't the bank text. The bank text was A1 rental. If the bank text contains A1 rental, I want you to call it an expense. That's the transaction type. I want you to drop it into the category. It's looking at my chart of accounts, and I'm going to say equipment rental. I'm not choosing one of these, which is a sub account of something else. It's just called equipment rental. And I always want to get the vendor name out there, which is the payee and the vendor is the same thing. So I'm going to paste it again, but that's never been put into QuickBooks. So I've got to add new. That is a vendor called A1 rental. I don't really need any kind of information. It's just drafting out of our bank account. All right, A1 rental. And I never want it to auto add. If auto add is turned on, that means it feeds into your holding area and goes on and does what you want it to do. You want to slow everything down. So you say, I do not want to auto add. You want it to feed in and stop, just like what we're looking at now. So I'm going to hit save. So now that I've created that rule, it didn't pop the vendor name on there. So I want to refresh my QBO just to make sure I didn't make a mistake when I was creating my rule, because you always want to have a vendor name and a category. And so then I can say, I'm ready to send that one and that one on to home base. So this will go down to 20 when I send these two. So 2 money outs worth $2,000. I'm going to hit accept. We go down to 20. Over here in my bank register, I should see them recorded. So there they are. 1,200 has cleared the bank feeds. The 800 has cleared the bank feeds. I'm going to go back to my bank transactions. I don't usually create a rule for a refund coming back in because I want to be aware of what's going on. So I'm going to manually send this back to that very same expense account because I spent $2,000 for equipment rental, but they gave me 200 back. So on my P&L, I really want it to show I only spent 1,800 on equipment rental. So this is more of a manual process where I open it up and I'm going to select my vendor, which is going to be A1 Rental. Should see it there. Yeah, there it is. I'm surprised it didn't. A1 Rental. And I want to send it back to that very same expense account from where I paid the $2,000. Even though it is money coming back, if you had went to Walmart and you had recorded as office supplies, but then you took something back and Walmart gave you the money back, you don't want to direct it to an income account. You want to direct it to that same expense account that you used before, which is office expenses. So in this one, I want to direct it back to equipment rental, not one of these subs, but this one right here. And I'm going to manually just hit add. See, I didn't create a rule for this. I'm going to hit add, and that'll drop us down to 19 when I hit add. So I hit add. So we're down to 19. I go over to my bank register. I'm going to refresh my QBO because it should show a $200 coming back in. Do not see it because it should be dated same date, I think. So this would be an example of where like I might want to click deposit real quick. Do I have a 200? No, I don't. So it's acting up again. It's not pushing it on through. Like I say, that doesn't happen in live QuickBooks companies. It's only in this test company that we're using right now. Let me put it back in date order. Still not coming through. Back to my bank transactions. Look there, see, it didn't do it. Let's try it one more time. A1 rental, put it back into that.
When you do more than one, when you're just doing the one, it doesn't seem like it works. Like when
you do the
you
one,
put in, yeah, when you do the two, like you put two together
yeah,
and you put it goes through. But if you only just do one, it's not fixing it.
yeah. I've kind of noticed that also that happens. So well, so I've tried that a couple times, it didn't work. So let's just see if we can push. So really all of these matches, they're all already in QuickBooks. So like right here is a payment for 103.55. And if I open that payment up, this is where they have open that payment up. This is where that when they received the payment, they said drop it straight into the checking account. They didn't run it through undeposited funds. Does that make sense? So that gets people in trouble sometimes. And once you set it, it kind of the next time you hit receive payment, it's going to say deposit to. Almost the most easiest thing to do is always run them through undeposited funds. It just causes an extra step. When I receive payment, I'm going to drop it into undeposited funds. And even though I might just take that one thing, I'm going to come here to bank deposit. It will see everything sitting in undeposited funds. And then I could just take that one thing and deposit it. And then I can deposit it into whatever bank account that I want to. So the bank feeds are the big selling point of QuickBooks, but I tell you this, when I'm showing it here, it's not looking very impressive. But another thing you can do, and let me go down here and do another one of these, teaching it a rule. So let me come down here and find Hicks Hardware. All right, so here's where I went to Hicks Hardware, and I want to teach it a rule. Every time I go to Hicks Hardware, I just assume that it hits on my P&L report under repairs and maintenance. So I'm going to teach it a rule. So I open it up. I can see the bank detail. So I want to copy the bank detail, Control C. I want to go create a rule. I want to paste that, what I just copied. That's the name of the rule. If you see money going out, I don't want to limit it to just my checking account. I'm going to say out of any of my accounts. And I want to switch it from artificial intelligence to bank text contains, and then I want to paste it again. Now, I don't really need to paste it, even though it's uppercase and lowercase, that's no problem. It's spacing only. So I really don't have to paste it again, even it being lowercase will be no problem. So we want to call it an expense. We want to put it in the category of repairs. And when I start typing it, I see all my different things. I don't want to make it a sub account of automobile expense. So I will just put it under building repairs. I find the most appropriate or where I really want it to go. And then I always want to get a vendor name on there. You want to make sure, and I never want it to auto add. Now that I've turned auto add off, it should stay off. So I hit save. So now in my bank feeds, we should see, let me refresh my QBO. And let me look down here at my Hicks hardware. So you can see the rules kicked in. So there is a way that right here it says you got 20 transactions that are waiting to come in. I can say, show me all the rules that kicked in. And see, it would show you. So once you start teaching it rules about Lowe's and Wendy's and McDonald's and your mortgage payment, once you start creating a bunch of rules, you can come here and turn your rules on and you can see them all and you could choose them all at one time. You might have 10 of them and then you hit accept and that moves all 10 of them over real quick. Same way with this, there's 19 left. I can say, show me all the matches. When I do that, it shows me all these matches here. So that means it's already been recorded in home base and you're just matching it. So I'm going to send all these at one time. So I'm going to choose the top line and I'm going to unmark a couple of these that say 2 matches found because it ain't going to know what to do with that. So I'm going to unmark that one. I'm going to unmark this one. And I'm going to unmark this one. Okay, so it says 8 money outs and 6 money ins. For this much money, I hit accept. So now I'm only left with, well, it says 5, but the reason I can't see it is because I've got my matches turned on, which I do have some more matches that I need to do. But I just wanted to show you over here in our bank register, we should see a lot of C's and green symbols. I think we're seeing them now. Because that's what you want in your home base, in your register, in your check register. Because the last step in QuickBooks is reconciling, is making sure that your bank statement and your QuickBooks matches. And when I go through the process of reconciling, all of these C's turn to R's. Okay, so we'll definitely do that next week, but let me go back over here to my bank transactions. And I've got my matches here. So what it's saying here is there's 11, 12 books by Bessie. It says there's 2 matches. There's 2 possible matches over in your register. So I'm going to click on it. You'll notice that this Pam Seats also says 2 matches. They're both $75. So I'm going to click on it. And do I want to hook it up with this bill payment to Books by Bessie? Or do I want to hook this transaction up with this expense to Pam Seats? It's correct. I want to hook it up to the bill payment. So I hit match. And then it knew there was only one left. So yeah, Pam is a match. So hit match. So now I'm down here on Squeaky Clean Car Wash on 11/12. It says, I see two 1999s in your register. One's dated 11/12 and one's dated 11/5. Which one do I want to match it up with? I would go with the dates 11/12, 11/12. I'm going to hit match. I thought I hit match. Frustrating. All right, now I'm going to go, I'm back to where, let me refresh my QBO. So every day you're trying to get this down to 0. So it says you've got 4 more left to do. I don't know why this one's not working. She said it's because you got 2. Let me see. Looks like this one didn't work either. I'm gonna hit match on that. It's just not working. Let me see if I can send both of these. Just won't go through. Sorry. So every day, so I've just got one transaction waiting to try to come into my savings account, which is a deposit for $200. It says I see a match, so that means that it's already in the register on 11/14. $200. There it is, $200. It doesn't have a C and a green symbol. I'm gonna go back to my bank transactions. I'm gonna hit match. Will not go through. Accept. All right. This is where you get on the phone with Intuit and you say, this is ridiculous. All right, go to your MasterCard. So is everybody kind of getting the way that it works? Does anybody want to ask any questions?
I have a couple questions.
Will we be discussing credit card payments to include associated credit card bank feeds and how all that works? So credit card payments. So Dave, do you want to unmute yourself and to include associated credit card fees? So are you using Intuit payments? I am locked. Dave. I don't know if it'll ask to unmute. Well, I don't know, Dave. Just give me a call if you can, and I'll help you with that. I'm not sure what the problem is on your credit cards. So I use Intuit Payments, and I send out my invoices, and I don't let people pay me with credit cards. I only accept ACH because with ACH it's 1%. If I let them use a credit card, I'll be paying 3 or 4% credit card fees. I believe in QBO you can pass the fee along to the customer, but I'm not sure. I don't really use that because that can get kind of expensive. But let me go back over here to I want to talk about the reconcile process. I can't reconcile in this test company, but I can show you in the bank register. This is your home base. I'm going to jump back over into my check register. And so we've got a bunch of C's and green symbols. So if I would say, well, I need to reconcile my credit card, when I come up here and I hit reconcile my checking account. So this is not going to work out. So I'm just going to plug in a number, $3,000, and I'm going to say as of 01/31/26. And I say start reconciling. Everything that has a C and a green symbol is going to come to this screen carrying over that green symbol which means it's already checked off that you are reconciling it. So most everything that's when you're doing a reconcile, most everything is already going to have the green symbol, and you come over to the reconcile screen and voila, it's all reconciled. You'll notice every one of the green symbols already has a check mark. If I uncheck anything, it changes this difference amount. If I would uncheck that, it changes this difference. Your goal is to get that to 0. So I would never want to uncheck anything that has a green symbol. And I would question, why would I check anything that does not have a green symbol? So you really need to figure it out, is like, why do I not have green symbols all the way down? It could be that maybe it's a check and the check just hasn't cleared the bank yet. So I don't want to check it. I would leave it just sitting there. Another thing when you're reconciling, when you're trying to get it to 0, is you look at your printed bank statement. Is your deposits off or is your payments off? To figure out which one, where is my mistake? Is it in my deposits or it is my payments? And so this is where it's real handy, where you could jump real quick and you could find things real quick. And you just have to do some digging. But your goal is to get that to 0. And once you get that to 0, then you can hit reconcile now. But in the meantime, you have to wait. All right, so we just have just a few more minutes. So I would like to spend a little less of the time to ask some questions. And next week we'll focus more on the balance sheet and the chart of accounts with these accounts that are associated with the balance sheets. These are like registers. Money flows in those registers and money flows out of those registers. Everybody can really understand your check register. Every one of these says registers here. That's what these are. These balance sheets are registers where money flows in, money flows out. Remember that fund called undeposited funds? We have that much money sitting in undeposited funds right now. If I would view that register, it would say that is what's left, 1675.52. So that means it's sitting in the register. So if I would go to plus create and I'd say, well, I need to do a bank deposit, that's how much money is sitting in that register at this time, 1675.52. So we will talk more about these registers of where money sits, because in these registers, I can't help it, I always want to talk about it a little bit more, is accounts receivable. Every time you create an invoice, your accounts receivable register goes up. But when they pay that invoice, your accounts receivable register goes down. So this register is not like a register for your bank account. Your bank account makes sense because it's just a running balance all the time on your bank accounts. You know, you had $5,000, you made a payment, it took you down to 4,700. You took in 175, so it takes you back up. Then you paid 250, it takes you back down. So those registers you can really understand. But when you start looking at these other registers like accounts receivable register, let me get back over here to my chart of accounts. Go back, look at my accounts receivable register. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't work like that. Accounts receivable, it just keeps track of this is how much money I'm waiting to get paid. Accounts receivable, I have this many in invoices open, 5,548. It doesn't flow like a normal check or bank register does. Will a copy of the class recording be sent to us? If you write to me, send me your email. I will try to get it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But here is my email address, Jeff@QBX Accounting. Again, if anybody didn't get the notes and you want to get something that talks about the chart of accounts, and just put it in the chat, and we will mail that out to you. If anybody has any quick questions about like which version should I use QuickBooks, just contact me. There's my office number. There's my email. Just contact me and I will try to help you the best I can. I appreciate everybody coming. I think the college will probably do send out maybe a seminar, a questionnaire to see how I did. I hope I did good. And if you have any quick questions, feel free to just email me and I will try to get back with you. So does anybody have any last questions before we close it off?
Jeff, there's two quick questions. One
Okay.
is, will we be going over how to do payroll next week?
Payroll is an additional cost. The payroll, we do not cover payroll in this training. Most people either use QBO payroll, the payroll that's built in to QuickBooks, but does cost extra. I think it's like $50 a month, and then there's a per employee fee. But Intuit, if you use Intuit payroll, they handle everything. They pay the taxes. Once it's set up, there's no problems at all. They'll help you get it set up and they just handle payroll. But it is like you could have the simple start, which is the normal process, $38 a month. If you want payroll, it's another $50 for payroll and then a per employee monthly fee for payroll. A lot of people use outside payroll services like ADP or what's the other one?
Gusto?
Gusto. A lot of people use Gusto. So, I think QBO payroll is pretty good. It's just according to how complex your business is. Do you have benefits and need that? Then you would need to move on up to ADP or something like that, which is more expensive. Do you have another question, Danny?
The other one was, will a copy of the class recording be sent?
We will try. We will try to see if it got recorded and we can get it condensed down into an email. If you send me an email and ask for it. So hopefully you'll come back next week and we'll do it again. We'll go a little bit deeper. So come back with your questions and I appreciate you all attending.
Thank you so much.
I'll stick around if anybody wants to ask any more questions. And feel free to unmute yourself.
I have a question.
Okay.
I know you were saying that you did accounting. I know I wanted to do accounting. You asked me about my business. I wanted to do accounting, but I never did finish my classes. So I was just seeing something that said like you can always do bookkeeping, just need like a certificate or something like that, and taxes, simple taxes.
You do not have to have a degree to do bookkeeping. I am a self-taught accountant. I learned QuickBooks, which taught me accounting, and I've been doing it for 20 years. And so you can learn to do bookkeeping. You don't have to have any kind of degree or, I am an advanced certified QuickBooks Pro Advisor. So there is a QuickBooks program that a Pro Advisor, if you Google QuickBooks Pro Advisor, there's a Pro Advisor program that you can go through that has a lot of training and stuff to learn about how to use QuickBooks, which teaches you a lot about accounting. But I don't do taxes. I'm just totally just a QuickBooks guru.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you.
Good luck with that.
Thank you. I'll see you next week.
Okay.
Good.
Good.
Okay.
Good. See you next week.
Okay. Bye.
Hey Jeff, this is Morgan with the Mayland Community College Small Business Center. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Have you had a good day?
I've had a good day. 2 hours of training of QuickBooks is always fun.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So I just attended today just to kind of learn and maybe hear a little bit about your presentation. Do you service my area? I would love to have you as a presenter.
I do. We do these on Zoom, so I all over North Carolina. I'm currently at 10 different colleges.
That's what I heard.
Colleges. So
Okay.
yeah, I'd love to do a class for you.
Okay, could you drop me over, like, do you have a
Yep.
list of classes with descriptions and prices and things
Yeah,
like that?
what is your email? And I'll send that to you.
Sure, it's mbuchanan@mayland.edu. I'm up here just a little bit above you guys, so I'm in Spruce Pine and I service Mitchell, Yancey, and Avery counties. But
Okay.
I'm also the Northwest Regional Director, so I oversee Catawba Valley, Caldwell, Wilkes, Western Piedmont, and McDowell. So
Okay. Well,
yeah.
yeah, I do Caldwell and Surrey Community
Okay.
College. In fact, I'm doing Surrey next Tuesday, and then next Thursday I'm doing the second part of this one. So this is through Cleveland Community College.
Yeah.
So then I've got some February and March, and I can do one class, 2-hour class, or I can do like this one, I can do 2-hour classes.
Okay.
So I'll send you all the information. And did you stay for the whole class?
I did. Yeah, I've been hanging out with you the whole time. So this was great.
Did you learn something?
Yes. Yeah.
You
It's been a
did.
long time since I've used QuickBooks. And so I'm just trying to learn a little bit more myself so that I can help our clients a little bit better. And I thought, well, this looks like a good one. And so, yeah, I've learned quite a bit today. So
Great. All right, Morgan, I'll drop that email to you here just shortly then.
thank you. You guys have a good evening. I'll see you soon.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? All right, I guess we'll plan to meet next Thursday. Look forward to it. Thank you very much for attending.